Mm. Oh my God. Pop that out. We don't worry about numbers around this bitch. We just do this shit. All right. Get my lighting right. Get my lighting right. Get my lighting right. Make sure I'm well groomed when I get on camera. You know what I'm saying? La 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 la. Hey. All right. So, on this rainy Tuesday, we're going to go into something. If you're new here, we talk politics, we stream, we make it funny. So, we're going to talk about Meet the Press. Earlier this week, Donald Trump was on Meet the Press. He talked about a lot of things that we've been speaking about for some time now. And what I've noticed with a lot of the streamers, political commentators, TikTokers, all that stuff, what have we been talking about this past time? Like, what have we been talking about the entire thing since November 5th? Right? We're talking about immigration. We talked about tariffs. We talked about Trump's cabinet pick. What are the three things we have not talked about since this man was elected? Y'all ready? We have not talked about the price of rent going down, the price of food going down, nor gas prices, which are controlled by OPEC, but people don't know that. You know. So, Donald Trump did an interview with Meet the Press, and I'm excited to see it because I want to poke holes in it because I want to hear what he has to say. Now, we've all seen clips, if we're all chronically online, we typically are. We've all seen clips about what he said, but, you know, we see the clips. I want to see the context. I want to hear what he has to say in full because I don't want to be the one that's like, see, he's dumb, when he said something good. I doubt he said something good, but we're going to see. So, anyway, Meet the Press. We got 47 minutes. Y'all know how this goes. It typically is going to be probably about 4 hours. That's why I'm on at 3 o'clock. I plan on being on here for quite some time. The sun will probably set, and I will still be in this thing grinding. So anyway, let's get into it. I don't want to lose too many people.
This Sunday, return to office. My exclusive interview.
Already, I don't like the music. Already, y'all made it too royal, epic. Just cold open. Them sitting right there. That's it. That's all I need. I don't need none of this other stuff.
With President-elect Donald Trump, his plans for the economy, and his promises for mass deportation.
Is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it.
And will he seek retribution against his political enemies?
Are you going to go out?
I think we know the answer to that. Right? His FBI director already said he wants to go after the press. Am I wrong? Right? We know how these people are thinking. I want to say that everybody that was saying that Trump said he's not affiliated with Project 2025, keep in mind he's hired at least 14 people from Project 2025 to be a part of his cabinet. So when we hear things like, oh, he's not affiliated, y'all have to stop thinking this man is a normal person that's going to tell you the truth. We've seen him lie time and time again, and the lies didn't stop. So let's get to it.
After Joe Biden?
I'm really looking to make our country successful. I'm not looking to go back into the past. Retribution will be through success.
Plus, his vow to pardon those convicted of attacking the Capitol on January 6th.
I'm going to be acting very quickly.
Within your first 100 days, first day?
First day.
And now that
I want everybody who says something about Joe Biden pardoning Hunter Biden, his legitimate last living son from his original marriage, in which him and Hunter are the only two survivors, to understand that Trump does not know the people from January 6th, has never met them, and plans on pardoning them. I don't ever want to hear about Hunter Biden ever again.
he's won the 2024 election, has he changed his mind about his 2020 loss?
For the sake of unifying this country, will you concede the 2020 election and turn the page on that chapter?
Joining me for insight and analysis are NBC News Managing Washington Editor Carol Lee, Politico Playbook co-author Eugene Daniels, Mark Short, former Chief of Staff to Vice President Mike Pence, and former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki. Welcome to Sunday and a special edition of Meet the Press.
Also, if you're new here, get the likes in the chat for me. Want to get this live out to as many people as possible. If you're new here, want to follow me, give me a follow. This is what we do. We talk about politics and make sure we understand a lot of things going on in the world. Appreciate your support. I'm on all platforms, especially if TikTok goes away. I don't think it will, but you never know in these days. All right.
This is a special edition of Meet the Press with Kristen Welker.
Good Sunday morning. President-elect Donald Trump is the first president to win non-consecutive terms since Grover Cleveland.
Into one of your signature promises on the campaign trail, which was to end inflation, to lower prices. You are now proposing tariffs against the United States' three biggest trading partners. Economists of all stripes say that ultimately consumers pay the price of tariffs.
I don't believe
Can
it.
you guarantee American families won't pay more?
I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow.
We're so cooked. It's over. This has been on for 3 minutes, and this interview started 12 seconds ago. Already he's like, now who knows? Things could go up, things could go down. You never know. I would love for MAGA people to be front row. I wish I had more of a MAGA audience, so I could say, hey, so listen, guys. He just said that. What do you think? What do you think?
But I can say that if you look at just pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I had a lot of tariffs on a lot of different countries, but in particular China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars, and we had no inflation. In fact, when I handed it over, they didn't have inflation for a year and a half. They went almost 2 years just based on what I had created.
Okay. All right, let's just go ahead and fact check this shit in real time, bro, because I really don't. I don't want to fucking deal with this all day. Here we go. Here is the literal inflation chart. Let me move this over. I accept all the cookies. Now, Donald Trump said when he handed over the United States, there was no inflation. Donald Trump handed it over, inflation immediately skyrocketed. You know why? Because things don't happen overnight. COVID had been happening for about a year, and the residual effects of COVID started happening. If you want to blame February 2021 on Joe Biden, if you want to blame April 2021 on Joe Biden, that's insane. I don't know what policy he could have passed in 2 months, 3 months, that would have done this. This is just the residual effect of things happening. And inflation skyrocketed, and now it's back down to normal levels of inflation. It's just insane the way we just forget things.
And then they created inflation with energy and with spending too much. So I think I'm a big believer in tariffs. I think tariffs are the most beautiful word. I think they're beautiful. It's going to make us rich. We're subsidizing Canada to the tune of over $100 billion a year. We're subsidizing Mexico for almost $300 billion. We shouldn't be subsidizing. Why are we subsidizing these countries? If we're going to subsidize them, let them become a state. We're subsidizing Mexico, and we're subsidizing Canada, and we're subsidizing many countries all over the world. And all I want to do is I want to have a level, fast, but fair playing field.
Sir, your previous tariffs during your first administration cost Americans some $80 billion. And now you have major companies from Walmart, Black & Decker, AutoZone saying that any tariffs are going to force them to drive up prices for their consumers. How do you make sure that these CEOs, that these companies don't, in fact, pass on the cost of tariffs to their consumers?
They cost Americans nothing. They made a great economy for us. They also solve another problem. If we were going to have problems having to do with wars and having to do with other things, tariffs, I have stopped wars with tariffs by saying, you guys.
Here's the part I don't understand. Economists and the people who run these companies have said out their mouths, this is what's going to happen. And he's like, nah, I don't trust that. You don't trust people whose whole careers have been understanding the economy and how it works. You don't trust the people who run the companies that are going to be impacted by these tariffs on various countries and their imports. Then who do you trust? That's the main thing. Who do you trust? You trust yourself? Is that what he's trying to say?
You guys want to fight, it's great, but both of you are going to pay tariffs to the United States at 100%. And they have many purposes, tariffs, if properly used. I don't say you use them like a madman. I say properly used. But it didn't cost this country anything. It made this country money, and we never really got the chance to go all out because we had to fight COVID in the last part. And we did it very successfully. And when I handed it over to Biden, the stock market was higher than what it was just previous to COVID coming in. It was actually higher. Tariffs are properly used, are a very powerful tool, not only economically, but also for getting other things outside of economics.
Are you actually going to impose these tariffs, or are they a negotiating tactic?
Well, I'll give you an example. With Canada, and in particular Mexico, we have millions of people pouring into our country. You agree with that? I spoke with the...
Another thing I want to point out is Trump has now shifted his focus from just demonizing Mexico and saying that millions of people are pouring in from Mexico to give that whole a boogeyman aspect. And now he's pivoted to say Canada. I want y'all to remember that, right? As you hear these types of conversations from him, you'll see that his talking points have included Canada more as far as the pouring in of humans into our country, right? Canada was never on the chopping block, ever. Like, it never was mentioned, not one time during the campaign. It wasn't mentioned during the any rallies or any speeches. Now that he's elected, now Canada, hey, we're letting too many Canadians in. Didn't know that.
Both, I spoke with Justin Trudeau. In fact, he flew to Mar-a-Lago within about 15 seconds after the call ended. He was at Mar-a-Lago. We were having dinner talking about it. I said, you have to close up your borders because they're coming in the northern border too a lot. Not like the southern border, but they're coming in the Canadian border a lot. And drugs are pouring in. Almost as importantly, drugs are pouring in, maybe more importantly, drugs are pouring in at levels never seen before, 10 times what we had. They're just pouring in. We can't have open borders. And I said to the president of Mexico and to Justin Trudeau, if it doesn't stop, I'm going to put tariffs on your country at about 25%.
The chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, said he will not leave his post even if you ask him to. Will you try to replace Jerome Powell?
No, I don't think so. I don't see it. But I think if I told him to, he would. But if I asked him to, he probably wouldn't. But if I told him to, he would.
You don't have plans to do that right now?
No, I don't.
Okay, let's talk about mass deportation, one of your big agenda items. You've talked about prioritizing people who have criminal histories.
Correct.
But is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it. And it's a very tough thing to do. But you have to have, you have rules, regulations, laws. They came in illegally. The people that have been treated very unfairly are the people that have been online for 10 years to come into the country. And we're going to make it very easy for people to come in terms of they have to pass the test. They have to be able to tell you what the Statue of Liberty is. They have to tell you a little bit about our country. They have to love our country. They can't come out of prisons. We don't want people that are in for murder. So we had 11,000 and 13,000 different estimates, 13,099 murderers released into our country over the last 3 years. They're walking down the streets. They're walking next to you and your family, and they're very dangerous.
The 13,000 figure, I think, goes back about 40 years.
No, it doesn't. No,
That's
it's
the
within the 3-year
13,000
period. It's during the...
It does. The 13,000 goes back since the 80s. Just so we're clear, just so we understand the metrics and data that we're looking at. He's talking about going back 40 years as far as the numbers he's pulling up. As far as murders in America by undocumented immigrants, there have been 29 this year. 29. I just want that to be clear. I want people to understand it is just, we're pulling data points from different places without citing our sources. That goes back to elementary school. Citing your sources is very important. So when we say things like, oh, there are millions and millions and millions of people here, where's that data from? Who's pulling that data? Right? We don't do that. We just take things at face value. So when we look at interviews like this, we're seeing that the president isn't very knowledgeable of things. Or he is knowledgeable and skews the data to prove a point.
Biden term now. That was a fiction that they put that out. This was done by the Border Patrol. It's 13,099, and it's during the Biden period of time. And these are murderers, many of whom murdered more than one person. You don't want those people in this country.
But you're saying something, sir, that's significant. I just want to make sure I'm clear, which is that you're saying, yes, you're going to focus on the people with criminal histories, but everyone who's here illegally has to go.
I'm saying this. We have to get the criminals out of our country. We have to get people that were taken out of mental institutions and put them back into their mental institution, no matter what country it is. Do you know that Venezuela, their prisons are at the lowest point in terms of emptiness that they've ever been? They're taking their people out of those prisons by the thousands, and they're drunk. And just to get back, because I know exactly what you're getting at. Number one, we're doing criminals, and we're going to do them really rapidly.
Going back to the data, I still have yet to see data that shows any country empty out their prisons. I looked for it. Matter of fact, have countries emptied their prisons to come to America? The only place that I see even mentioned is Venezuela. And the first article is crime job in Venezuela does not prove Trump's claim. That was in June. I hate this fucking setup. There we go. See? Stupid. Just dumb.
We're getting the worst gang probably with MS-13, and the Venezuelan gangs are the worst in the world. They're vicious, violent.
Just looked it up. Just looked it up 2 seconds ago. Right? Oh, remember the Colorado thing? Remember how the Venezuelan gangs were taking over a town? Did you ever remember what happened with that? Like, where did that story go? We all saw that one Ring camera, and then we saw no other evidence that there was any inhabitants living inside Colorado. All they do is come up with things to fearmonger people and then try and use that as a catalyst to push them to the top. It happens all the time.
People, and you see what they've done in Colorado and other places. They're taking over, literally taking over apartment complexes and doing it with impunity. They don't care. They couldn't. They just are. They're in the real estate business.
You know, the local police say that is not the case in Colorado.
Oh, it's totally the case. I mean, I
you
have it on
don't
tape.
believe the local police.
I play it. I used to play it at my rallies every single night. No, it was.
So you don't believe the people that are actually there. You don't believe the actual people that are actually on the ground talking. Okay.
Breaking into doors, they're taking over the building.
But sir, you
and by the way,
raised the point.
The police are afraid to do anything.
You raised the point that the logistics are complicated. You said
Sure
it yourself.
they are,
You would
but everything's
need 24,
complicated.
yeah, you mean you need 24 times more ICE detention capacity just to deport 1 million people per year, not to mention more agents, more judges, more planes. Is it realistic to deport everyone who's
You have
here
no
illegally?
choice. First of all, they're costing us a fortune.
It's literally not going to cost. It literally is impossible to do so. The reason why I say that is there are 1.8 million people in prison. You know how we say America has the highest prison population in the world? That number is 1.8 million. When you talk about deporting people, it isn't just you got arrested today, you're on a bus tomorrow. You have to process them. And in the meantime, while they're being processed, they have to be somewhere. So they have to put them in detention camps, prisons. That's why you started to see private prison stocks start to rise. That's why you see these abandoned prisons and housing centers start to be refitted in anticipation for what's about to occur. This would be one of the largest human rights violations in all of history, because you have to put people in jails. Not only that, this would cost literally millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars to do this. We talked all this mess about sending money to Ukraine, sending money to Taiwan, sending money to various places, which of one is just Department of Defense weapons. We've already been through that, right? We know that it is weapons they're giving food that you would not eat. Don't get it twisted. They're not sending them Chipotle. It's food that you wouldn't eat, but it's enough to keep you alive. We know this, and yet we're talking about spending even more money than that in the opposite direction. I look at this job site outside my building right here. They're building an apartment complex. There are immigrants all throughout that, legal or not. I think the way in which they would do it is they would just have ICE trucks just pull up. Just pull up, pick people up. Because again, unless that's happening, they're calling people. It's just a hotline you can call. That's the only other way to do it. You're going to drive the streets and pull up anybody Mexican? That's crazy. And again, the human rights violations, we're talking about illegal immigrants from Canada as well. How are we going to identify those? Because they're just white people. At the end of the day, it's just white folks. So we're going to pull over any white people that look Canadian? You see what I'm saying? Like, there is no thought behind this. This doesn't make any sense, nor does it make any logical discernment on how to pick out how this even occurs. We've yet to hear of any plan of any kind. At the same time, they're trying to go full steam ahead with this motion. And that's the problem. That's been the problem.
But we're starting with the criminals, and we got to do it. And then we're starting with others, and we're going to see how it goes.
Who are the others?
Others are other people outside of criminals. We have convicted murders. We don't mean people that are even on trial. We have people that have murdered numerous people are on our streets.